Welcome back, everyone. We're diving deep today into a book you wanted more on, Hooked by Nir Eyal. It's all about habit formation, and get this, right off the bat, the book hits us with this stat. 1/3 of Americans, they'd rather give up sex than their phones.
Wow, right. Talk about hooked. I mean, that really does say something about how central these devices have become to, well, to our lives.
Seriously. So Eyal, he lays out this hook model, 4 steps to break down how those habits, how they form. Ready to get hooked on the hook model?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
Okay, so first up, we've got the trigger. Basically, what gets the whole cycle going, what makes us, DO something. And what's cool is Eyal splits this into like 2 types. External triggers and internal triggers.
Right. So the external, those are the obvious ones, right? Like a notification pops up on your phone,
Sure.
or that little red dot on an app, or even just seeing someone else using, whatever the product is.
Yeah, like, hey, check this out kind of thing.
Exactly. But then you have the internal triggers, and these are, well, sneakier. It's more about your emotions, like what you need at that moment. So maybe you're bored, maybe you're lonely, stressed out. FOMO even, that fear of missing out, those feelings, they push us to do something to feel better.
So that's why I check my phone. Even when there's NO notification, it's not them telling me to, it's ME just needing to.
Exactly. And Eyal, he took this example of a woman, Barbara. She's on Facebook, sees a friend's vacation photo, right? External trigger, gets her thinking about her own trip. But clicking that photo leads her to Pinterest. Hours later, she's down that rabbit hole of travel ideas. So the start was external, but what kept her going? That internal need to connect, to plan, to feel, in control.
I totally get that. Like you're scratching an itch, but you didn't even know it was itchy before.
Precisely. Which takes us to step 2, the action. Here, Eyal brings in another model, the fog behavior model, and this explains what it actually takes for us to do something.
Yeah, I think I've heard of that. Something about motivation, ability, and, triggers.
You got it. Fogg says for any behavior, you need enough of all 3 at the same time. You got to want to do it, motivation, be able to easily, ability, and then something's got to spark the action. That's the trigger.
So if I'm missing even one of those, I'm less likely to actually do the thing.
Right. And this is where it gets, kind of tricky. Think about companies, how they design stuff. They're always messing with these 3 things to get us to do what they want. Sometimes we don't even realize it.
So if an app is super easy to use, even if I'm not really motivated to post a photo or whatever, I might do it anyway because it's no effort.
Exactly. Think about Google search. Why did it win? They made it so simple, right?
Yeah.
Compared to, say, Bing, which might have more features but was clunkier to use. Google was just easy.
So less friction equals more action. Makes sense.
But it's not just about making it easy. They got to play on our motivation, too. And to do that, they use these things called cognitive biases, which are mental shortcuts our brains take.
Oh, those biases. Yeah, those are little tricks our minds play on us, right?
Exactly. And often, we're not even aware of them. One example is the scarcity principle. Things seem more valuable if they're rare or limited.
Oh, yeah, like those limited time offers you see everywhere.
Yeah.
Makes you feel like you gotta act now.
Right. Or the endowed progress effect. You're more likely to finish a task if you feel like you've already made progress, even if that progress was, kind of fake.
Oh, so that's why those loyalty programs get me. Those punch cards where they give you 2 free punches to start. I'm way more likely to buy those extra coffees to fill the card up.
Exactly. They know how our brains work. So we've got the trigger that starts it all. Then we have the combo of motivation and ability, deciding if we'll actually take action. So what happens next? What keeps us coming back for more?
That's a good question. What is the secret sauce that gets us hooked?
That, my friend, is where the variable reward comes in. Step 3 in the hook model. And in my opinion, the most fascinating part of the whole thing, it's all about that element of surprise. Our brains, we crave novelty. We want the unexpected. Think about slot machines, right? You pull that lever and you have no idea what you're going to get. It's that anticipation that keeps you hooked, keeps you coming back for more.
So it's kind of like checking social media, right? You never know what's going to pop up. Could be a funny meme, a friend's announcement, maybe some crazy news story.
Yeah.
It's that possibility of seeing something new and interesting that just keeps you scrolling.
Exactly. And Eyal, he breaks down these variable rewards into 3 categories. Rewards of the tribe, rewards of the hunt, and rewards of the self.
Okay, 3 types of rewards. Lay it on me. What are they all about?
Okay, so rewards of the tribe. Those are all about social connection, getting that validation from others. That feeling you get when you see those likes and comments rolling in on your Facebook post or, I don't know, your latest Instagram pic, it just makes you feel good, right? Like you're appreciated, you're seen, you're part of something.
It's like we're wired to want that approval, that feeling of belonging to a group.
Exactly. And it's not just about likes and comments. Think about those points you earn on certain websites, like those top contributor badges on online forums. They tap into our desire for status, for recognition within a group.
Oh, I totally fall for those. I love seeing my name at the top of a leaderboard.
Yeah.
Feels good to be recognized for, contributing.
Right. And that brings us to rewards of the hunt. This one's about the thrill of searching, the satisfaction of finding something valuable or, I don't know, interesting. That feeling when you finally find that perfect item on Pinterest after scrolling for like an hour, or when you hit inbox 0 after wading through tons of emails.
It's that sense of achievement, like you've accomplished something, even if it's a small thing.
Right. And the hunt itself can be rewarding. Think about those games where you got to find clues or resources. The anticipation, the challenge, even the process of searching, all that adds to that feeling of satisfaction when you finally find what you're looking for.
So we've got the tribe, the hunt.
Yeah.
What about the self? What's that one about?
So rewards of the self, that's all about intrinsic motivation. It's the satisfaction you get from personal growth, from mastering something new, like when you learn a new skill or finally clean out that closet that's been bugging you forever.
So it's more about feeling competent, like you're improving yourself in some way.
Exactly. And these rewards, they can be super powerful in driving long-term engagement. It's not about external validation. It's about feeling good about yourself, about your own growth.
I can see that. But, thinking about all this, there's got to be a downside, right? If companies are designing things specifically to tap into these reward systems, isn't that kind of manipulative?
That's a really important question, and it's something Ale addresses directly in the book. There's a fine line between influencing and manipulating, and it's super important for both, designers and users to be aware of that line.
So how do we know when it's ethical and when it's, crossing that line?
I think one big thing is transparency. Are users aware of how their behavior is being influenced? Do they have control over how they interact with the product?
It's like that example we talked about earlier with Quora and those views. People were upset because they weren't given a choice about whether their browsing history was public.
Exactly. Transparency and control, those are key. If a product feels sneaky or coercive, then it's probably crossing the line.
So it's not about avoiding these techniques altogether. It's about using them, responsibly.
Right. And it's also about us, the users, being aware of these things and making conscious choices about how we interact with these products and services.
Makes sense. So we've covered trigger, action, and variable reward. What's the final piece of the hook model? What's the last step in this habit-forming journey?
The final stage is all about investment. And this is where things get kind of meta, I guess you could say. Ale's point is the more we put into something, the more we value it. And that makes us less likely to, jump ship to something else, even if a better option comes along.
It's like we're building up equity in a product.
Yeah.
Through our time, our effort, maybe even our emotions.
Exactly. And there are different kinds of investments we make, like content creation. Every time we post a photo on Instagram, write a review on Yelp, whatever, we're adding to that platform's ecosystem. We're making it more valuable, not just for us, but for everyone else too.
It's like we're all contributing to this shared pool of information, experiences, connections. The more we contribute, the more invested we become.
Right. Then there's data input. Think about LinkedIn. The more info you put in work history, skills, connections, the more useful that platform becomes for you, for networking, for finding jobs.
It's like you're building this personalized database that's tailored to your career. More data equals more value, so you're less likely to start over on some other site.
And then you've got reputation building. This one's huge on platforms like eBay or like Hoover, where your ratings and reviews directly affect you. Building a good reputation, that takes time and effort, so people don't want to risk messing that up by switching to some new platform where they got to start from scratch.
So all these investments create this sense of loyalty, like we're locked in because we put so much of ourselves into it.
Exactly. That's how companies really solidify their position. The more invested users are, the less likely they are to be tempted away by something new.
It's like joining a gym, right? If you paid for a whole year up front, you're more likely to stick with it, even if a nicer gym opens up down the street.
You've made a commitment financially and, I guess, mentally too.
And EL has some great examples of how companies use this investment phase to, make those habits really stick. Like Tinder, for instance. What makes that app so addictive? It's all about that swiping.
You mean swiping left or right to show interest? Yeah, exactly. Each swipe, it's like a tiny investment. You're curating your pool of potential matches, putting an effort to find someone you like. And the more you swipe, the more potential matches you get, which leads to more notifications, which draws you back in. It's a loop.
Clever. Another one that comes to mind is Snapchat. Why do people send so many photos and videos on there?
I think part of it is that investment you put into creating those snaps. You take the time to capture something funny, add filters, maybe write a caption. It's an invitation for a response, and that keeps the conversation going.
Right. It's not just passively watching. You're participating, putting your own creative energy in.
And Pinterest. It seems simple, right? Just a place to collect images. But it's addictive because you invest time in creating and organizing those boards. You're showing your interests, your style, your dream life even.
It's like building a vision board, but online. And that's what's so powerful about the Hook model. It shows us the psychology behind our behavior, even when we don't realize it's happening. So we've gone through the whole Hook model now. Trigger action, variable reward, investment. What's the big takeaway? For someone trying to understand their own habits, or maybe even someone trying to create products or services that utilize this model.
The biggest thing for me is to look for those nascent behaviors, things that people are already doing but maybe struggling with, and then ask, how can I make this easier, more rewarding, more likely to become a habit?
So it's not about inventing totally new behaviors. It's about tapping into existing needs and desires and finding a better way to fulfill them.
Exactly. Think about how the iPhone made it easier to take and share photos, or how Netflix made watching movies and shows just simpler, or social media making it easier to connect with people. They're not creating new needs, they're just satisfying them in a more compelling way.
It's about reducing friction, boosting rewards, and basically making those desired actions more automatic, more habitual.
And as tech keeps evolving, there are just going to be more and more opportunities for creating those kinds of experiences. Think wearables, VR, who knows what's next?
Whoa, my mind's spinning now. But before we get too futuristic, let's come back down to earth for a sec. What really stood out to you from Eyal's book? Got any specific examples of products that you think are using the Hook model well?
One thing that really hit home for me was Eyal's focus on solving your own problems. He says the best ideas often come from personal experience, from noticing those pain points in your own life. You know, those things you wish had a better solution.
I love that. It's like that saying, scratch your own itch. If you're passionate about solving a problem that you're facing, chances are others are dealing with the same thing too.
Eyal gives the example of Joel Gascoigne, the guy who created Buffer.
Oh yeah, Buffer. I use that for scheduling my social media posts.
Right. Well, Gascoigne noticed that he got a lot more engagement on Twitter when he shared links to articles and quotes, but he didn't want to spend his whole day on Twitter, so he wanted a way to be more consistent without, constantly being online.
So he was scratching his own itch. He needed a way to keep up his social media presence without sacrificing his time.
Exactly, and that's how Buffer was born. It lets you schedule your posts in advance so you can share consistently without being glued to your phone. And it hits on a couple key points from the Hook model. It makes taking action super easy, and it gives you those variable rewards in the form of likes, comments, and retweets.
So by solving his own problem, he ended up creating something that millions of people now use to manage their own social media habits.
Yep. And that's just one example. There are tons more out there. The key is to be aware of those nascent behaviors, to be curious about what drives our actions, and to always think about the ethics of how we're influencing people.
Solid advice. I'm definitely feeling inspired to take a closer look at the things I use and how they're designed. Maybe I'll even come up with my own Hook model idea. Who knows, maybe we'll be discussing your groundbreaking new app on a future episode.
Now that would be an interesting deep dive. Speaking of which, let's shift gears a bit and talk about how tech is constantly creating new possibilities for habit formation. Things that might have seemed impossible a few years ago are now, totally normal.
I'm all ears. Give me an example. What are you thinking?
Well, think about how interfaces have changed the way we interact with technology. Remember those old computer terminals with the text-based interfaces?
Oof, yeah, those bring back memories. Not good ones.
Right. But then companies like Apple and Microsoft, they brought in graphical interfaces that were way more user-friendly. Suddenly, computers weren't just for tech people. Anyone could use them.
Crazy to think how just changing the interface opens up so many possibilities.
And then you have Google, which completely changed search by making it simple and getting rid of all those annoying banner ads that used to be everywhere. Finding info online became so easy, and that ease of use is a big reason why they became the top search engine.
It all goes back to that. The less friction, the better. The easier it is to do something, the more likely we are to do it, and the more likely it is to become a habit.
Exactly.
Okay.
And as we move into the age of mobile devices, wearables, VR, you name it, we're just going to see more opportunities for creative interfaces that can tap into those nascent behaviors and create new, engaging habits.
So we've talked about the hook model, the power of solving your own problems, and how tech is constantly shaping our habits. What's the final takeaway? What's the one thing you want our listeners to remember from all of this?
For me, it comes down to being mindful. As consumers, we got to be aware of those hooks that are trying to grab our attention and influence our behavior. And as creators, we have a responsibility to use these powerful techniques ethically. Building habit-forming products can be a good thing, but we have to use that power responsibly.
So it's about striking a balance, creating engaging experiences, but also respecting the user's freedom to choose.
Exactly. We need to ask ourselves, are we empowering people with our products, or are we exploiting them? Are we solving real problems, or are we just creating new addictions?
Those are some heavy questions. Tabula says it really well in the book. The first step to building ethical habit-forming products is to design something you would want to use.
Right. If you're not excited about your own product, no one else will be either.
So to wrap things up, here's a challenge for everyone listening. Think about the things you're hooked on. Do they add value to your life? Do they make you feel good? Or are they just sucking up your time and energy without giving you anything back?
It's worth thinking about, and if you don't like the answer, maybe it's time to shake things up a bit, change some habits.
I like that. And to help everyone remember the key points, we're going to do something a little different today. You asked for it, so we've put together a 10-point summary of the hook model. Ready for a rapid-fire recap?
Hit me.
Okay, number 1. Neary Isles' hook model breaks down habit formation into 4 phases: trigger, action, variable reward, and investment.
4 key ingredients for building a habit.
Number 2, external triggers like those notifications we talked about, and internal triggers, those emotions and needs, they're what prompt us to take action. Everything starts with a trigger, whether it's something in our environment or something inside us.
Number 3, the Fogg behavior model states that for any action to happen, we need motivation, ability, and a trigger, all at the same time. The perfect recipe for action, like we said.
Number 4, variable rewards are the most powerful drivers for making us come back for more. And those rewards come in 3 types: the tribe, the hunt, and the self. It's that unpredictability, that surprise, that keeps us hooked.
Number 5, any investment we make in a product, whether it's content, data, or a reputation, makes that product seem more valuable to us, and we're less likely to switch to something new. It's like we're building up something we don't want to lose.
Number 6, make things simple, make them easy to use. Reducing friction is often more effective than trying to boost motivation. Keep it simple, and people will use it.
Number 7, always consider the ethical side of things. Building habit-forming products can be a powerful tool, but it needs to be done responsibly. Don't be a jerk. Let users make their own choices.
Number 8, look for those nascent behaviors, the things people are already doing but struggling with. That's where you'll find opportunities to create habit-forming products. Scratch your own itch, and you might just create something amazing that helps others too.
Number 9, listen to your early adopters, the people who start using your product right away. They can give you valuable insights into how your product can be used to build habits.
And last but not least, number 10, new technology. And those changes in how we interact with tech, those interfaces, they're constantly revealing new things about how people behave. And that opens up new doors for creating habit-forming experiences. It's an exciting time to be building things.
And that wraps up our 10-point summary. We hope you found this deep dive into the hook model informative and engaging. And remember, knowledge is power. The more you know about how your brain works, the better decisions you can make about the habits you want to form.
Absolutely. Before we sign off, it's been awesome exploring this with you. Thanks for joining me.
The pleasure was all mine. Until next time, keep learning, keep questioning, and keep diving deep. It really makes you think, doesn't it? How technology changes so fast and how that creates all these new ways for habits to form.
It does. Like, what's the next big hook going to be, I wonder?
Right. And it's not just the new tech, it's those little changes in how we use it too, those interfaces. AL talks about enabling technologies, things that pave the way for these habit-forming products to pop up.
Enabling technologies, huh? What does that mean exactly?
Okay, so think about smartphones. Being able to get online anywhere, anytime. That totally changed the game for apps that wanted to get us hooked. Suddenly, we could check email, browse social media, shop, all from our phones.
So the smartphone itself wasn't the hook, really. It was what made all those other things possible, all those apps and services that use the hook model to get us hooked.
Exactly. And then there are the little design tweaks, things that seem small but actually change how we behave in big ways. AL uses the iPhone camera as an example. Before that, taking pics on your phone was a pain, right?
Oh, tell me about it. Those old phone cameras were awful, blurry photos, slow, and sharing them was a nightmare.
Right. But then the iPhone came along with that sleek camera, so easy to use. Suddenly everyone's taking and sharing pics all the time. That ease of use plus the social rewards of sharing online create this whole new generation of photo fanatics.
It's crazy how a little design change can make such a big difference in how we behave.
And it's not always about making things easier. Sometimes it's about changing how we think about something. AL talks about how some products manage to turn vitamins into painkillers, which is a pretty interesting idea.
Vitamins and painkillers. Now I'm really curious. Break that down for me.
Okay, so a vitamin is something good for you, but not essential. You can live without it. A painkiller actually solves a specific, immediate problem you've got.
Okay, I get that. But how does that apply to, products and stuff?
Take fitness trackers. At first, they were like vitamins. They tracked your activity, tried to get you to be healthier. But most people already knew they should be more active. Just seeing the data wasn't enough to make them change their habits.
So they weren't solving a real problem, a real pain point.
Exactly. But then, some fitness trackers started acting more like painkillers. They focused on specific problems like bad sleep or high stress.
So instead of just showing you data, they were actually helping you fix something.
Right, and that made them more engaging, more likely to form a habit. They weren't just giving information, they were solving problems.
That's smart. So it's about finding that sweet spot where your product solves a real need and gives the user a clear benefit.
Exactly. And as we wrap up, it's important to remember, this hook model isn't just about tricking people. It can be used for good. It's a way to understand how habits work and how we can use that knowledge to create positive change.
Totally agree. It's about understanding the psychology behind it all and then using that knowledge responsibly.
Exactly. And AL says it best. The first step to building ethical habit-forming products is to design something you would want to use.
That's such a good point. If you don't love your own product, why would anyone else?
Right. It all comes down to empathy, really.
Well said. This has been a fantastic deep dive. Thanks for joining me today. It's been great exploring this with you.
The pleasure was all mine. And to our listener, thanks for suggesting this topic. We hope you found it helpful and interesting. Until next time, keep learning, keep asking questions, and keep diving deep.